Barbell Sumo Deadlift. I love this exercise for your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads, but I can really feel this exercise in my glutes, and I do love a sumo deadlift. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you do here is figure out your stance or your foot position. This is different than a conventional deadlift, so your feet are going to be wider than hip width apart. Most people tend to go wider than shoulder width apart with their stance, and then you're turning your toes out 45 degrees or a little bit more. Okay, so you want to figure out your stance. So you can start with shoulder width or a little wider than shoulder width, and then turning your toes out about 45 degrees. So if your shins, how we can kind of decide if your form or if your stance is correct, if your shins are fairly vertical from the front and the side view, and you can reach the bar while maintaining a flat back and an upright torso, that's probably a good stance option for you. Okay, so once we find that ideal stance, we want to pull the bar close to our shins. Typically my bar is very close to my shins, if not touching my shins, okay, because we want to keep that bar really close to our body. So pull that bar close to your shins, if not touching your shins. And in order to get into the starting position, we want to bend at our hips or hinge at our hips forward. And then as we descend, we're going to externally rotate those hips, okay? So when you externally rotate your hips, you're going to think about driving your knees outward. Okay, so now you're down here in the bottom of this position. Your shins are fairly vertical. You have hinged forward at the hips. You have driven your knees out so that your knees are in line with those toes. Okay, if you look down, your knees are in line with those toes. So at this point, we want to figure out our bar grip. So your grip is going to be, most people tend to take a closer or a more narrow grip than a conventional deadlift, and you can switch grip it. I like to switch grip this. So one palm is facing away from me and one palm is facing towards me. Okay, so figure out your grip. Now your arms, you do not want to bend at the elbow. You want your arms to be relaxed and straight. Okay, I'm not asking you to fully extend you at the elbow. I'm just asking you to have relaxed arms. Okay. So we want to make sure that before we lift this weight that we're tight. So we're tight in our upper back, our lower back. Just our body is tight. We're ready to pull that bar. So now we're going to lower our hips and we're going to raise our torso while pulling our shoulder blades down. That's what I mean by get tight. So in order to get tight, we're going to drop those hips down a little bit, raising our torso and then pulling our shoulder blades down. Okay. And then from this point, okay, we want to take a big breath in. You know, you're inhaling here. I'm trying to do it to help you. And we're going to execute the lift and the pull by driving through our heels, and then we're going to extend our hips and our knees in one fluid motion. Okay, we're not going to bring our hips up first, then our knees straight. We're going to extend our hips and our knees in one fluid motion. So you're going to take a deep breath in, shoulder blades down, stay tight, and then extend your hips by extending your knees and your hips at the same time in one fluid motion. Okay, so the barbell is going to then slide up your legs. You're probably, on a sumo, you're definitely going to feel this barbell. You want to keep it closer to your legs. I tend to get bruises on my quads because at the top of the movement, that barbell is kind of sitting on my quads. Okay, we're going to squeeze our glutes in order to lock out our hips. Okay, at the top of the movement, we're squeezing those glutes to lock the hips out. You can see in the video how my glutes are tight. And then we're going to lower the weight using the same form but in reverse, and we're going to do that very controlled. Do not drop this weight, okay? I just want you to lower it in a very controlled motion. Again, keeping those knees, driving those knees out, okay, as you lower that weight. That is the sumo deadlift.